My wife promised to forgive me if I cheated, but when I found out she had cheated, I refused to forgive her, gathered proof, and kicked her out despite her pleas. It is incredible how everything can change over something so minimal. Sometimes, one believes they know someone completely, but a small detail, a phrase in the air, or an out-of-place look is enough for everything to fall apart. In my case, it was an innocent game that lit the spark, a gathering like so many others, a night that seemed fun and, suddenly, became the beginning of the end. Almost 6 months ago, I went with my then-wife, Carolina, to a gathering with my lifelong friends, people with whom I had shared many things over the years: birthdays, trips, fights, and reconciliations. She already knew them well. It was not the first time she came, so everything was comfortable, relaxed. A barbecue in one of their patios, very cold beers, some background music, and conversations ranging from politics to school anecdotes. Some were with their partners, others were alone. We were about 10 people in total. Everything was going well. We were all listening to each other and having a great time. At one point, one of the guys proposed we play Never Have I Ever. You know, that game where someone says something they have never done and those who have done it have to drink. It was not the first time we played it. Funny or somewhat embarrassing things always came up, and laughs were guaranteed. They started with light things. Never have I ever fallen asleep at work. Never have I ever eaten something that fell on the floor. And so on. We all laughed. Some drank more than others. I myself drank a couple of times. But then, someone said, "Never have I ever forgiven a cheater." The phrase came out like that, with laughter, without a second thought, without malice, just another one. No one said it looking at anyone in particular or with an inquisitive tone. It was just part of the game. But what happened next was what left me cold. I did not drink because I have never had to forgive something like that, but many of my friends did. What surprised me was seeing Carolina also drink without hesitation. It was just a gesture, a small movement. She lifted her glass, took a sip, and put it on the table, all naturally. But for me, it was as if the world stopped for a second. I felt strange, although I did not know exactly why. I said nothing. It was not the time. No one made any comments, and the game continued as if nothing had happened. We laughed a little more, ate some barbecue, and little by little, the night ended. We said goodbye to everyone and went home in silence, tired, or at least I thought so. Already in the room, while we were changing to sleep, I could not get what I had seen out of my head. Carolina did not seem uncomfortable. She was removing her makeup calmly, putting on her pajamas like every night, and I felt a lump in my throat. I debated whether to let it go or ask her directly, but I know myself. I know how I am. If something is on my mind, I need to get it out, or it drives me crazy. We got into bed, and I turned off the light. A few minutes passed in silence until I could not take it anymore. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Sure," she replied, without sounding annoyed or tense. "That thing you said in the game. Well, what you drank when they mentioned forgiving a cheater, was it true?" She did not answer immediately. She adjusted herself a bit on the pillow and then said, "Yes. Before I was with you, I had a long relationship. My ex was unfaithful to me. I did not know if I was more surprised that she admitted it so quickly or that she told me so calmly." "And you forgave him?" I asked. "Yes. He confessed it himself. He asked for forgiveness, cried, said it had been a mistake. I loved him at that moment and thought he deserved a second chance." I nodded, although she could not see me. I felt a strange mix of discomfort, curiosity, and a kind of disappointment that I did not know where it came from. "And what happened next?" I continued asking. "He did it again," she said, more serious now. "Some time later, I found out he was cheating on me again. That is when I ended it. I could not continue in something like that." We fell silent. I felt strange. I was not exactly angry, but something inside me stirred. Then she, with a smile in her voice, added, "Still, I believe in second chances. If you cheated on me, I think I would forgive you too. We all make mistakes." That completely threw me off. I turned to her, although I could not see her well in the dark. "You would forgive me if I were unfaithful to you?" I asked. "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Because I love you and because I know that sometimes people make mistakes." I was quiet for a few seconds, digesting what I had just heard. Then I replied, perhaps with a harsher tone than I intended. "I would not. I would never forgive infidelity. For me, that kind of betrayal is the worst thing you can do to a partner. If someone cheats on you, It is because they do not value you, because they do not respect you, and I could never look at that person the same way again." She said nothing. She just stayed silent, completely still. After a few seconds, she murmured, "Good night," and turned over to sleep. I stayed awake for a good while, looking at the ceiling, listening to her breathing, feeling that something did not fit, although I did not know what. The next day, Carolina woke up before me. She had already showered and dressed when I entered the kitchen. She greeted me with a dry, "Good morning," and continued making her coffee. During breakfast, we barely spoke. I tried to joke about something from the night before, but she only smiled forcefully. The rest of the day was the same, cold, distant. She answered in monosyllables, did not look me in the eyes. At first, I thought she was still hurt by my response from last night. Maybe it seemed too harsh, but as the hours passed, it became harder to convince myself that was the only reason. There was something else. I could not explain it, but I felt it. It was as if a wall had been built between us. In the evening, tired of mulling it over, I decided to approach her directly. Carolina was still distant, as if something had broken inside her or between us. I could not keep ignoring it. We were watching a series on the sofa, but I noticed she was only there physically. Her mind was elsewhere. I paused the TV and looked at her. "Carolina, can we talk?" She glanced at me and then looked down. "What is wrong?" she said, pretending not to notice anything. "That is what I want to know. What is wrong with you? You have been acting strange for days." She sighed, as if she knew this conversation was bound to happen sooner or later. "Nothing really. I am just tired. Work has been heavy, and I think it is affecting me more than usual." She shook her head and tried to smile, but her expression did not match. I moved closer, took her hand, and spoke to her calmly, without confronting her. "No, Carolina. It is not just that. Since we had that talk, the night of the gathering, you have been distant, cold, as if something were bothering you or hurting you. I do not want to pressure you. I just want to understand what is happening." At that moment, her eyes filled with tears. She looked down, put her hands to her face, and burst into tears. I did not know what to do. I just hugged her and waited for her to speak. "It is just that I feel so bad," she said between sobs. "I feel like I ruined everything, that I damaged the image you had of me. I do not know. I feel ashamed." Her answer surprised me. I expected anything but that. "Ashamed? What?" I asked. "Because of what I said that night, for having told you that I forgave a cheater, for saying that I would also forgive a betrayal. I felt like you judged me, and I know that since that moment you see me differently." I was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to respond without making her feel worse. "Carolina, listen to me. We all have different points of view. Not everyone thinks the same, and that has always been part of our relationship. Believing in second chances does not make you a bad person. It just means you have a different way of seeing things. That should not make you feel ashamed." She wiped her tears and nodded. We hugged for a while longer. She lay resting on me, while the series continued in the background without either of us paying attention. After that, Carolina seemed to relax. During the following days, I noticed she made an effort to be more affectionate. She hugged me for no reason, snuggled up to me when we watched television, prepared special dinners during the week, and even wrote me messages during the day, like when we were just starting out. And yet, something inside me had already changed. It was not that I did not want to believe her, it was not that I wanted to distrust her, but since that night, since that time, I could not stop thinking about certain things. Had she always been like that with her cell phone? Did she always carry it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom? Did she always answer messages in another room? How many times had she come home late from work without a clear reason? Maybe she was always like that, and I did not notice, or maybe now I was more attentive. The point is, doubt had set in, and it was not going away. During the following week, I tried to convince myself that everything was fine, that I was just being paranoid, that I was the one seeing ghosts where there were none, that she felt bad about our conversation, and that was why her attitude had changed. And yet, there were details that made me suspicious. Carolina was more affectionate than ever, yes, but there were also moments when she seemed strangely nervous. On several occasions, I saw her writing frantically on her cell phone, with an expression of tension she could not hide, and if I approached or asked a question, she would startle. "Everything okay?" I asked her once. "Yes, it is just work. We are closing some reports," she said, quickly hiding the phone. Another night, I woke up thirsty. I went to the kitchen to drink water, and, upon returning, I saw her cell phone on the dining room table, its screen lit up by a notification. I did not go near it. I just looked from afar, and, for the first time, I was tempted to check it, to pick it up, unlock it, and look for some clue. But I did not. Not because I did not want to know, but because I wanted to trust, because I still wanted to believe that everything was in my head. And the truth is, as the days went by, Carolina started to seem calmer, more relaxed. She was no longer so tense or evasive. She told me she loved me, that she wanted us to travel, to do new things. She even suggested we take a cooking class together, something she had never mentioned before. One night, while we were having dinner, I asked her, "Are you better now? Did you solve what was bothering you?" She smiled, touched my hand, and said, "Yes, I already solved the work problems. Everything is fine now." She said it with confidence, and, for the first time in weeks, I felt some peace. I thought I had done well not to distrust, that maybe everything was indeed a product of my imagination, that trusting had been the right thing to do. But that peace lasted little, very little. About 4 weeks after that gathering with my friends, I received a message from an unknown number. It was at noon, while I was at work. I opened it without thinking, expecting it to be spam or some promotion, but no. It was a message that said, "Hello, I do not know you, but I am Carolina's lover. I want you to know that she also cheated on me. She made me believe she was going to leave you, that she was in love, but now she tells me it was never anything. She just played with me, and with you too." This left me cold. I did not know if it was a joke, a trap, a lie, but before I could react, I started receiving screenshots, conversations dated just a few days ago, messages between him and Carolina. In one of them, she wrote, "We cannot keep seeing each other. This is over." He replied, "What happened? I thought you were willing to leave your husband." And she answered, "I am not going to risk my marriage for something worthless. This was never serious. Please, do not call me or write to me anymore." I felt a void in my stomach, as if something had been torn from me, but that was not all. The guy kept writing to me. He was furious, and then he sent photos. Photos of the two of them in a room, in underwear, in attitudes that left no room for doubt. Some were selfies, others, clearly taken by him, and also videos. I did not open them all, I could not. Just one was enough. It was enough for my world to come crashing down. The last message he sent me was short and brutal. "Do not be fooled. That woman is trash." That afternoon, I returned home earlier than usual. I did not feel like staying at the office, not with everything I had just received. My head was a whirlwind of anger, pain, and betrayal. I did not know how I was going to react when I saw her, but I knew I had to confront her. There was no more room for doubt. When I opened the door, I found a scene that seemed taken from a romantic movie. Soft music playing from the dining room speaker, the aroma of something cooking filling the house, and Carolina moving from one side to another in the kitchen, humming happily while preparing dinner. As soon as she saw me enter, she dropped what she was holding and ran towards me with a huge smile, as if everything were perfect, as if she had no idea of the hurricane that was coming. "Love," she said excitedly. "Look at everything I am preparing. You are going to love it. I made your favorite dishes. I thought we could." I cut her off. "Is this how you try to compensate for everything you did?" It was as if she had been slapped. She stopped abruptly. Her expression changed in a second. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but no words came out. She just looked at me, pale. "What? What are you saying?" she tried to say with a trembling voice. "I just wanted to do something nice for you. I do not know what you were talking about." She started to take off her apron with clumsy hands, then threw it on the floor and, putting on her best act, said, "I cannot believe you are talking to me like this. I just wanted to do something nice. You know what? Forget it. I am going to my room." She turned around, but I did not let her advance. "I spoke to your lover," I said with coldness. "He told me the whole truth. He sent me screenshots of your conversations. He sent me photos, videos, everything." She stopped. She did not turn around. She stood there, her back to me, trembling. Then, very slowly, she turned to me. Her eyes were already full of tears. "And what are you going to say?" I interrupted, taking my cell phone out of my pocket. "Are you going to keep lying? Because I have everything here. Do you want me to read what you wrote, or do you prefer to remember it yourself?" I showed her the chat on my phone and started reading. "I am not going to risk my marriage for something worthless. This was never serious. Do not call me or write to me anymore. She covered her face with her hands and started to cry. Please, it was not what it seems. Is this why you were talking about second chances, Carolina? Why? Did you know that sooner or later everything was going to come to light because you were also unfaithful? She said nothing. She just cried, kneeling in the middle of the hallway, as if her world had collapsed. But you already know my answer, I said in a low, firm voice. I do not forgive. I never would. It was not serious, she suddenly shouted in desperation. It meant nothing. It was just a way to escape, to relax. I love you, you, not him. It is all over, I told her. Yes, it is over. I swear. No, I will not see him again. I promise you. No. Carolina, I interrupted her. It is all over. Us. Everything. She stood up, stumbling over the apron she had thrown on the floor, and grabbed my arm while crying and trembling. No, please, do not do this to me. Do not leave me, I beg you. I forcefully pulled my hand away. I walked to the main door, opened it, and without looking at her, I said, Get out of my house. What? Are you going to leave me on the street? Out, I repeated. She fell to her knees by the door, begging, crying, repeating not to leave her, that it was a mistake, that she regretted it, that she did not know what she was doing. I did not answer her. I just took her by the arm, took her out of the house, and closed the door in her face, locking it. She left. I do not know how, or where, or with whom, and I did not care. The next day, the second part of the show began. I received messages from her family, her mother, her sisters, even an aunt I barely knew, all indignant, accusing me of having left her on the street for something trivial. They said I had kicked her out without money, without a phone, that she had to get to her parents' house as best she could, crying and distraught. I did not bother to write anything. I simply opened the family group where they all were and shared the screenshots of the conversations, the photos, the evidence, without comments, without explanations. I just let the facts speak for themselves. For hours, I received no response, until, almost at dusk, Carolina and her father knocked on my door. When I opened it, she looked at me with anger. Not with sadness, not with regret, with anger. How could you, she shouted. How could you share all that? Do you have any idea of the damage you did to me, of how you left me in front of my family? She was furious. I did not get to answer, and it was not necessary. Carolina's father stepped forward and, without saying a single word, slapped her so hard it echoed throughout the entrance. She was speechless, motionless, surprised more by the gesture than by the pain. You embarrass me, her father said. I have not come to defend you. I have not come to fight with him. I only came so you can collect your things. Nothing more. But, Dad. Silence, he shouted at her. You cheated, you lied, and you played with everyone. Do not come blaming others for the consequences of your actions. She, trembling and crying, entered the house and collected her things. She did not look back. Her father, before leaving, looked me in the eyes, serious. Sorry for this and for intruding in your house like this. It was not my intention. I wish you the best. I just nodded. I had nothing more to say. The divorce was resolved faster than I expected, perhaps because she knew she had no way to defend herself. The division of assets was simple, no arguments, no fights. I kept the car and my savings. She went back to live with her parents. I found a small but comfortable apartment, a quiet, silent place. Our relationship had lasted almost years, 4 of them married. Years thrown in the trash. But, at least, we did not have children, and I see that now as a blessing. I was left with no hatred, only disappointment, a cold sadness, without tears, like when you realize that something you valued was never what you thought, as if you had loved an illusion.